The restaurant's doors swing open, and Lila, the hostess, stands frozen for a split second, menus pressed tightly to her chest. Her smile falters just long enough for Sienna to notice, but not long enough for anyone else to call it out. Lila's eyes flick toward Graham, the manager, who leans against the host's stand with a practiced, distant air. He gives a small, almost imperceptible nod toward the back of the room. Lila's voice, when it comes, is thin and stretched. "Right this way." Sienna's grip on her clutch tightens, but her face remains composed, every movement measured. Malik's hand rests gently at the small of her back, a silent reassurance as they walk past tables filled with laughter and sunlight. Eli follows, his gaze fixed on the floor, feeling the weight of every glance that lingers a moment too long. The family is led to a table wedged between the kitchen's swinging doors and a wall sconce that flickers with a tired yellow light. Lila sets the menus down, her hands shaking just enough to rattle the cutlery. "Will this be all right?" she asks, her tone brittle, almost pleading. Sienna's eyes drift to the window tables where couples bask in afternoon light. She nods, her voice calm but flat. "It's fine, thank you." Lila retreats quickly, her shoes tapping out a nervous rhythm on the tile. Graham straightens his tie and greets a white couple with a warmth that feels almost theatrical, his laughter echoing across the room. Sienna smooths her scarf, the silk cool against her skin. Malik shifts in his seat, jaw set, his eyes scanning the room. Eli nudges the table's wobbly leg, watching the water in his glass tremble. The menu's gold foil catches the overhead light, a harsh glare that makes it hard to read. Across the room, a server's laughter rings out, sharp and bright. Sienna's reflection stares back at her from the polished silverware, steady, unblinking, quietly bracing for what comes next. Before the story continues, please let us know from where you are watching this video. Write your city or country in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like if you believe in stories that challenge injustice. Your engagement gives power to voices that need to be heard. Bryce approaches the table, his steps brisk, eyes darting past Sienna's family as if they're just another task to get through. He holds a stack of napkins, white and perfectly folded, but instead of placing them gently, he flicks them onto the table. One slips, landing on the floor by Eli's chair. Eli hesitates, glancing at his mother, then bends to pick it up, cheeks tinged with embarrassment. Malik's hand curls into a fist beneath the table, knuckles pressing against the wood. Bryce doesn't pause or offer an apology. His lips press into a thin line, and he turns away, his attention already shifting to a white couple settling in nearby. "Welcome, folks. Can I get you started with our signature cocktails?" His voice is warm, almost rehearsed, a stark contrast to the flat tone he used moments earlier. Sienna watches, her expression unreadable, but her eyes follow Bryce's every move. She unfolds her napkin slowly, smoothing the fabric across her lap, every gesture deliberate. The napkin in Eli's hand is creased now, the edge dirty from the floor. He tries to fold it back into a neat square, but it never quite looks right. Across the room, Bryce laughs with the new arrivals, his posture relaxed, shoulders back, as if he's slipped into a more comfortable role. Leela returns to refill their water, her hands trembling slightly. She glances at the napkin on the floor, then at Eli, offering a quick apologetic nod before hurrying away. Malik exhales, the sound barely audible. But Sienna hears it and places her hand on his arm, steadying him. The table feels smaller, the air heavier with every passing second. The napkins, meant to be a gesture of welcome, now lie between them as a reminder of where they stand. Sienna's gaze lingers on the white cloth in her lap, its crispness already fading, a silent witness to a moment that will not be forgotten. Eli sits quietly, shoulders drawn in, his eyes fixed on the polished spoon beside his plate. He tilts, watching his own face stretch and warp in the metal, smaller and further away than it should be. Across the dining room, a teenage boy in a varsity jacket leans back in his chair, laughing loudly, feet kicked up on the edge of another seat. No one tells him to sit properly. Bryce glances over, grins, and gives the boy a playful salute before returning to the Caldwell's table with a pitcher of water. Bryce pours for Sienna and Malik, then turns to Eli. The stream of water keeps going, filling the glass to the rim, and spilling over, droplets running down the side and pooling around Eli's knife. Bryce doesn't acknowledge the mess. He just sets the pitcher down with a thud and wipes his hands on his apron, eyes already scanning for his next table. Sienna reaches for her scarf, dabbing at the spreading water, her movements precise and controlled. Malik shifts in his seat, jaw clenched, watching the other families laugh and eat in peace. Eli tries to mop up the spill with his napkin, but it's already stained from the floor. He glances at his mother, cheeks burning, and she gives him a small, reassuring nod. The boy in the varsity jacket throws a fry at his friend, who catches it mid-air. The server at their table laughs along, no hint of irritation or reprimand. Eli straightens his back, mimicking his mother's posture, and sets the spoon down, the warped reflection disappearing. Across the table, Malik's hand rests on the linen, fingers drumming a slow, steady beat. Sienna meets Eli's gaze, her eyes steady, letting him know he's not alone, even as the world tries to make him feel otherwise. Bryce leans against the server station, his voice dropping as he catches the cook's eye. "Bet they ask for the lobster, then complain about the price," he mutters, a crooked grin spreading across his face. The cook snorts, shaking his head, wiping his hands on his apron before sliding a plate onto the pass. Their laughter is low, meant for each other, but the words travel farther than they think. Sienna pauses, fork halfway to her mouth. She doesn't look up, but her grip tightens, knuckles pale against the silver. Malik notices, his jaw flexing as he glances from his wife to the men at the server station. Eli's gaze flickers between his parents, sensing the shift but unsure what to do with the tension that settles over the table. Across the room, a waitress catches the tail end of the joke. She hesitates, tray in hand, then turns away, lips pressed together. The sound of laughter lingers, sharp as the edge of a broken plate. Bryce wipes at the counter, the motion quick and careless, then glances back at the Caldwell's table. Sienna's wedding ring glints under the chandelier, a small but defiant flash of light. She sets her fork down with care, the click loud. In the hush that follows, Malik leans in, voice barely above a whisper. "You want to go?" Sienna shakes her head, her eyes never leaving the tablecloth. "No, we finished." Eli looks down at his plate, appetite gone, tracing circles in the condensation left by his glass. The cook slides another dish onto the pass, eyes avoiding the family across the room. Bryce straightens, smoothing his shirt, the laughter fading as he catches Sienna's steady gaze. For a moment he falters, the joke souring on his tongue. The dining room hums with conversation, but at their table the air is thick, every word left unspoken weighing more than any laughter ever could. Bryce approaches with the check, his stride brisk, eyes already searching for his next table. He sets the billfold down with a practiced flick, barely glancing at Sienna or Malik. "Whenever you're ready," he says, voice flat, and turns away before anyone can respond. Sienna opens the billfold, her fingers steady as she scans the total. She reaches for her pen, uncaps it with a soft click, and pauses. Malik watches, brow furrowed, unsure what she'll do next. Eli sits quietly, hands folded in his lap, his gaze fixed on the table's edge. Sienna writes a number, slow and deliberate. She slides the billfold to Malik, who opens it, eyes widening as he sees the tip $1,000, bold and unmistakable. "For Eli," Sienna murmurs, her voice barely above a breath. Malik's lips part, but he says nothing, only nods, understanding the message carried in that quiet act. Sienna closes the billfold with a gentle snap, the sound crisp in the soft clatter of the dining room. Across the room, Bryce laughs with another guest, oblivious to the storm brewing at the table he just left. Lila passes by, catching Sienna's eye. For a moment she hesitates, then offers the smallest of smiles, an apology, a thank you, a silent acknowledgement of what just happened. Sienna nods back, her expression calm, unshaken. Bryce finally glances over, curiosity flickering as he notices the billfold still on the table. He approaches, picks it up, and opens it. His eyes widened, mouth falling open. The tip is impossible to miss, and the note beside it, "Kindness is a choice," lands harder than any complaint ever could. For a heartbeat, Bryce stands frozen, the weight of the gesture settling on his shoulders. Sienna gathers her things, stands, and leads her family out, her dignity untouched, leaving a quiet warning in her wake. Carlos moves through the empty dining room, sweeping up stray napkins, and collecting abandoned receipts. The hum of the dishwasher is the only sound as he bends to empty a trash bin near the server station. His hand brushes against a crumpled piece of paper, wedged between coffee grounds and a torn sugar packet. He hesitates, then smooths it open. The words are shaky, written in blue ink. "Your staff treats us like criminals. We felt unwelcome again." He stands there a moment, the letter trembling between his fingers. His thumb traces the edge of the page, smudged where a tear has blurred the ink. Carlos glances around, making sure no one is watching, then folds the letter and slips it into his pocket. He straightens, shoulders heavy, and continues clearing tables, but his mind lingers on the words. A server breezes past, humming, oblivious to the note's existence. Carlos nods politely, but her eyes don't meet his. At the bar, Graham the Eye. Manager jokes with Bryce, their laughter bouncing off the marble countertops. Carlos wipes down a table, his movements slower than usual. He catches his reflection in the window, face lined with years of quiet endurance. He pauses at the kitchen door, watching Lila stack menus with careful precision. She glances up, offers a tired smile, then looks away. Carlos considers handing her the letter but decides against it. Instead, he tucks it deeper into his pocket, a secret he's not ready to share. The weight of the paper presses against his leg as he moves through the room, the words echoing louder with every step. As he turns out the lights, Carlos lingers by the exit, the letter still in his pocket. He knows tomorrow will bring more messes to clean. But tonight, the truth is his to carry. Heavy, but real. Proof that someone finally said what he's always felt. Lila stands at the host stand, menus pressed to her chest, watching the Caldwells settle into their corner table. Her eyes flick to Graham, who hovers near the bar, arms crossed. He catches her gaze and gives a quick, downward nod, barely a gesture, but enough. Lila swallows, her throat tight, and grabs a stack of napkins, folding them with nervous precision. She approaches the table, her footsteps careful, her smile forced, but hopeful. "Let me know if you need anything," she says, voice softer than before. Sienna meets her eyes, searching for something, maybe apology, maybe courage. Lila sets the napkins down, arranging them with unnecessary care. The corners are too sharp, the folds pressed too flat, as if she could iron out the tension with her hands. Malik thanks her, his tone polite but clipped. Eli doesn't look up, fingers tracing the pattern on his glass. Lila hesitates, wanting to say more, but Graham's presence looms behind her. She glances over her shoulder, sees him watching, and her shoulders tense. She steps back, offering a quick nod before retreating to the host stand. Behind her, Graham murmurs to Bryce, "Keep them happy, but don't make a scene." Bryce shrugs, grabbing a pitcher of water, his face unreadable. Lila busies herself with menus, but her hands shake, and she fumbles the stack. A server passing by gives her a sympathetic look, then moves on, unwilling to get involved. Lila watches the Caldwells from a distance, wishing she could do more. She catches Sienna's eye again, and this time her smile is smaller but real, a silent plea for understanding, a promise that not everyone in the room agrees with what's happening. The moment passes quickly, but it lingers in the air, fragile and unfinished, as Lila turns away, hoping for the courage to do better next time. Jasmine sits in the cramped back office, the glow of the security monitor flickering across her face. She rewinds the footage, pausing on Bryce as he approaches the Caldwell's table. His lips curl in a tight, fleeting smile as he turns away, rolling his eyes at the kitchen staff. The camera angle catches every detail. A server walking by, glancing at the family, then looking quickly away. Jasmine scribbles in her notebook. The pen scratch loud in the quiet room. She fast-forwards. Another black couple is seated near the kitchen, their conversation subdued. The server forgets to bring water, then returns with a forced apology, eyes darting everywhere but at the guests. Jasmine zooms in on a woman's posture-slumped shoulders, hands folded tightly in her lap. The timestamp in the corner blinks. December 5th, 7:15 p.m. A manager's voice drifts in from the hallway. "Just follow the usual routine," he says, not realizing Jasmine can hear. She notes the phrase, underlining it twice. The tape whirs, a soft mechanical sound that fills the space between her thoughts. Carlos enters, pauses at the door. "Are you watching old footage?" he asks, voice low. Jasmine nods, not looking up. "Trying to find a pattern," she says. Carlos lingers, then leans in, pointing at the screen. That's the third time tonight they've done that. Jasmine rewinds, watches as Bryce again rolls his eyes, this time at a different family. The pattern is clear, even if no one else wants to see it. A server knocks, peeking in. "Manager's asking for you, Jasmine." She closes her notebook, glancing once more at the frozen image on the screen. A family sitting straight-backed, trying to shrink into their seats. Jasmine stands, the weight of what she's seen pressing down as she leaves the office, the footage, still looping behind her, a silent record of what everyone pretends not to notice. Bryce sits in the break room, scrolling through his phone, thumb moving in restless circles. A memory flickers. He's 13 again, at a family dinner. His father, sleeves rolled up, carves a roast and laughs. "Watch out for those types in suits, son. They'll smile at you and rob you blind." The table erupts in laughter, his uncle slapping him on the back. Bryce forces a grin, unsure but wanting to belong. His mother says nothing, eyes fixed on her plate. "Present day," Bryce mimics that old laugh for a coworker, tossing a towel over his shoulder. "You see the way they act? Always expecting something extra." The busboy, a college kid named Marcus, shifts uncomfortably, pretending to check the salt shakers. Bryce catches his own reflection in the window, older now, but the same uncertain eyes. He straightens, puffing out his chest, trying to look in control. In the kitchen, the chef calls out an order. Bryce repeats the joke, louder this time. The line cook chuckles, but the dishwasher, Rosa, just shakes her head, muttering in Spanish. Bryce shrugs it off, but her disapproval lingers, a quiet rebuke that stings more than he'll admit. He returns to the dining room, passing Lila at the host stand. She offers a polite smile, but her gaze drops quickly. Bryce watches the Caldwells for a moment, noticing Eli's careful posture, Sienna's measured movements. He remembers his father's words, hears that old warning echoing in his mind. For a second, doubt flickers. Maybe he's missed something. Maybe the joke isn't funny anymore. Bryce forces a smile and heads to his next table, but the laughter from his childhood feels distant, hollow. The restaurant buzzes with conversation, but for Bryce, the noise fades, replaced by the sound of his father's voice. A lesson he never questioned, now unraveling in the quiet between orders. Eli sits hunched over his phone, thumbs flying across the screen. He snaps a photo of their table cornered by the kitchen, plates barely touched. He hesitates, then posts it with a caption, "Guess who got the worst seat again?" Within seconds, notifications light up. Comments pour in. "Same thing happened to us last month. Dine with dignity." "Tired of this?" His breathing quickens as the likes climb. Malik leans over, voice low. "You sure you want to do that?" Eli shrugs, jaw set. "Someone has to." Sienna glances at the screen, her eyes soft but proud. "They'll listen now," she says quietly, squeezing his shoulder. Across the room, Bryce notices the glow from Eli's phone, his brow furrowing. He catches a glimpse of the post, lips pressing together as he turns away. Lila, passing by, sees the screen and pauses, her own phone buzzing with the same hashtag. She meets Eli's eyes for a brief moment, nods once, then moves on, her steps a little lighter. Eli scrolls through the replies. "We see you. Don't let them make you small." The words feel like armor, each message a shield against the stares and whispers. He types a quick "thank you," hands shaking, then locks the screen and sets the phone face down. Malik watches his son, pride and worry mingling in his expression. "You did good," he murmurs. Sienna nods, her voice steady. Change starts somewhere. The table feels less isolated now, the weight of exclusion eased by the flood of support from strangers. Eli sits taller, glancing around the restaurant with new resolve. The hashtag keeps climbing, a digital tide that refuses to be ignored, and for the first time all night, Eli feels seen. Bryce returns to the table with a pitcher, his grip too tight on the handle. He pours for Malik and Sienna, then moves to Eli, letting the water flow until it spills over the rim, splashing onto the tablecloth and pooling around Eli's knife. He doesn't offer a word, just sets the pitcher down and wipes his hands on his apron, eyes drifting to the next table as if nothing happened. Eli freezes, staring at the spreading puddle. Sienna reaches for her scarf, dabbing at the water, her movements careful and composed. Malik's fingers drum a slow, tense rhythm on his thigh, jaw working as he watches Bryce walk away. The restaurant's hum grows louder, but at their table, every sound feels amplified. The drip of water, the scrape of a chair, the hush of a passing server. Lila approaches, noticing the mess. She bends to help, but Sienna shakes her head gently. "We've got it," she says, voice even. Lila hesitates, then nods, her cheeks flushed as she retreats. Eli tries to fold his napkin, but it's already damp and wrinkled from the floor. He glances at his mother, frustration flickering in his eyes. Sienna gives him a small, reassuring smile, her hand steady as she blots the last of the water. A couple at the next table glance over, curiosity in their eyes, but quickly turn away when Malik meets their gaze. Bryce laughs with a coworker near the bar, tossing a towel onto the counter, his back to the family. The moment passes, but the sting lingers, a quiet reminder of where they stand. Sienna smooths her scarf, now stained and damp, and sets it aside. Eli straightens in his seat, determined not to let the moment define him. Malik exhales, slow and controlled as the family regroups, their dignity intact despite the careless act left unaddressed. Jasmine sits at a small table near the kitchen, notebook open, pen tapping against the page. She watches as Bryce passes, the Caldwells, his posture stiff, face unreadable. She scribbles a note, "Fourth cold plate delivered. No apology." Her handwriting grows sharper with each observation. Carlos walks by, tray in hand, eyes flicking to Jasmine's notebook. He pauses, voice low. "They fired the last guy who said anything." Jasmine nods, jotting down his words. "You ever think about leaving?" she asks quietly. Carlos shrugs, gaze dropping. "Bills don't pay themselves." A server stops at Jasmine's table, offering a strained smile. "Everything all right?" Jasmine closes the notebook just enough to hide. Her notes. "Fine, thank you." The server lingers, glancing at the Caldwells, then back at Jasmine before moving on. Jasmine watches her go, noting the tension in her shoulders, the way she bites her lip as she passes Graham, who stands by the bar, arms folded. Jasmine flips to the margin, writing, "Staff uneasy, management watching." She underlines it twice, pressing hard enough to dent the paper. Across the room, Eli checks his phone. Sienna whispers something to Malik, and Bryce wipes down a table, jaw tight. Jasmine's pen hovers over the page. She sketches a quick line, a box around pattern of neglect. Carlos returns, dropping off a glass of water for Jasmine. He leans in, voice barely above a whisper. "You keep writing. Maybe someone will listen." Jasmine meets his eyes, nods once and adds his words to her growing list. She closes her notebook, tucking it into her bag, but the weight of what she's recorded stays with her. The restaurant buzzes with routine, but Jasmine knows she's captured something real, something that can't be erased by routine or fear. Graham sits behind his cluttered desk, a mountain of receipts and schedules threatening to spill onto the floor. He rubs his forehead, eyes squeezed shut, as the muffled sounds of the dining room drift in. The phone rings, but he lets it go to voicemail. He opens a drawer, pulls out a stack of complaints, and flips through them quickly, barely glancing at the details. One letter, edges bent, catches his attention. He reads the first line. "Your staff made us feel unwelcome," then sighs and drops it into a folder marked Resolved. The drawer jams as he tries to close it, and he shoves it harder, frustration flashing across his face. A knock at the door. Lila steps in, voice tentative. "We're running low on menus, and the Caldwell's table just asked about their order." Graham waves her off, not meeting her eyes. "Tell them it's coming. We're busy tonight." Lila hesitates, then leaves, her footsteps fading down the hall. Graham leans back, staring at the ceiling, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Carlos passes by the office window, catching Graham's eye for a split second. Graham looks away, pretending to be absorbed in paperwork. He glances at the clock, then at the reservation list. Lips pressed together. Another complaint surfaces on his desk, this one about cold food and slow service. He adds it to the pile without reading it. Downstairs, the Caldwell's plates sit under a heat lamp, growing colder by the minute. A server asks if he should deliver them. Graham barely nods, already reaching for another stack of invoices. The restaurant's hum continues, but Graham feels the weight of every ignored letter, every delayed meal, pressing down on his shoulders. He closes his eyes just for a moment, wishing the noise would fade. Bryce stands at the pass, leaning in close to the cook as a plate is set down. "Think they'll order the cheapest wine and still complain?" he says, voice pitched just low, enough to carry only to the kitchen staff. The cook snickers, shaking his head as he wipes his hands on a towel. Their laughter is brief but pointed, a dart thrown across the room. At the Caldwell's table, Sienna pauses, fork hovering above her plate. She doesn't look up, but her jaw sets, and her wedding ring catches the overhead light, a small flare of defiance. Malik notices the shift, glancing at his wife, then at Bryce, who's already moved on, collecting glasses from another table with exaggerated cheer. A waitress nearby hears the tail end of the exchange, her eyes darting from Bryce to Sienna. She bites her lip, hesitates with her tray, then quickly turns away, pretending to check her order pad. The laughter lingers, sharper than any reprimand, settling over the Caldwells like a shadow. Eli pushes his food around, appetite gone. He glances at his parents, searching for a sign that everything is okay. Malik leans in, voice low. "We're almost done, son." Sienna places her fork down with care, the sound crisp against the plate. She straightens her napkin, smoothing the fabric with slow, deliberate movements. Bryce glances back, catches Sienna's steady gaze, and for a moment, his confidence falters. He turns away, busies himself with polishing silverware. But his hands move faster than before, less sure. The cook calls out another order, but Bryce's laughter doesn't return. The dining room's chatter swells, but at the Caldwell's table, every word feels heavier, every gesture more loaded, as if the room itself is waiting for something to break. Eli sits quietly, his fingers tracing the edge of his soup spoon. He tilts it, watching his face distort in the curved metal, long, thin, almost unrecognizable. He glances across the room at a boy his age, slouched in a booth, laughing with friends, feet propped up on the seat. No one tells that boy to sit up straight. No one glances twice. Bryce breezes by, setting down a breadbasket at the next table, offering a wink to the group of teens. Their laughter grows louder. Eli looks back at his own reflection, feeling smaller with every second. He straightens his back, shoulders squared, mimicking the way his mother sits upright, composed, unyielding. Sienna notices, her lips curving in the faintest smile. She reaches over, gently nudging Eli's hand away from the spoon. "You're fine just as you are," she whispers. Malik nods, his hand resting on Eli's shoulder, steady and warm. The spoon clatters onto the table, the sound sharp in the low hum of conversation. A server at a nearby table glances over, catching Eli's eye. She offers a quick, encouraging nod before turning back to her guests. Eli exhales, the tension in his chest easing just a little. He picks up his fork, determined to finish his meal, no matter how out of place he feels. Across the table, Sienna smooths her napkin, her movements calm and deliberate. Malik leans in, voice soft. "Proud of you, son." Eli meets his father's gaze, finding strength there. The distorted image in the spoon is gone, replaced by the quiet certainty that he belongs, here and anywhere else he chooses to sit. Jasmine slips into the office during a lull, careful not to draw attention. She rifles through a stack of reservation books, fingers pausing on a thin ledger tucked behind a pile of invoices. Flipping it open, she scans the names, some highlighted in blue, others circled in red. Her brow furrows as she reads the notes beside each entry. VIP, special attention, high maintenance. She notices a pattern. Every black family's name is marked in red, with asterisks and curt comments in the margins. She snaps a photo with her phone, the flash muted by her palm. The room feels colder as she scrolls through the pages, the weight of the evidence settling in her chest. Bryce walks by the open door, polishing wine glasses, humming to himself. He doesn't notice Jasmine or the way her hands tremble as she documents the proof. A busboy peeks in, eyes widening as he sees the ledger. "You're not supposed to be in here," he whispers, worry lacing his voice. Jasmine closes the book, tucking it under her arm. "I just needed a pen," she says quietly, offering a small, reassuring smile. The busboy nods, glancing nervously down the hall before hurrying away. Jasmine returns to her table, heart pounding. She opens her phone, reviewing the photos. Each image a record of the restaurant's quiet sorting. Who gets the window, who gets the corner, who gets the extra smile. She writes a quick note. Systemic, not random. Story here. Across the dining room, Bryce laughs with a table of regulars, oblivious to the evidence now in Jasmine's hands. She tucks her phone away, eyes meeting Sienna's for a brief, loaded moment. Jasmine nods, a silent promise that the truth will not stay hidden. The ledger, once a secret, is now a weapon one that will change everything. The restaurant's atmosphere shifts as Bryce returns to the Caldwell's table, billfold in hand, unaware of the storm about to unfold. Sienna's fingers move with quiet certainty, signing the tip line with a number that speaks louder than words, $1,000. Malik's breath catches, eyes widening in silent surprise. Eli watches, his small hands folded, sensing the weight of the moment. Bryce sets the billfold down, a faint smile playing on his lips, expecting the usual. But as he opens it, his expression falters, eyes scanning the bold figure and the note beside it. Kindness is a choice. So is dignity. The room seems to hold its breath. Servers glance at one another, whispers threading through the air like a rising tide. Bryce's confident posture crumbles, shoulders slumping as the gravity of the gesture settles in. He looks up, meeting Sienna's steady gaze, the silence between them louder than any accusation. Vivian's voice cuts through the quiet, firm and clear. This place was built for everyone. That starts today. The staff exchange glances, some nodding, others swallowing hard. The manager's face tightens, the veneer of control slipping away. Cameras flash from the lobby, reporters capturing every moment of the reckoning. Sienna gathers her things, her movements calm and deliberate. Malik stands, offering a small, proud smile. Eli's eyes shine with a new light, hope flickering in the dim dining room. The billfold closes with a soft snap, a quiet revolution folded into its leather. Bryce's world shifts, the echo of the tip a silent verdict that will not be forgotten. The moment the article titled, "Luxury Dining Every Day. Racism Hits the Digital Stands, the restaurant's polished facade begins to crack." Screens across the city light up with Jasmine's words. each sentence a spotlight on the quiet cruelty hidden beneath the chandeliers. Bryce's hands tremble as he scrolls through the flood of comments, his reflection fractured in the phone's glass like a broken mirror. Tweets pour in. Happened to me, too. We see you. This needs to end. The usual hum of the dining room is replaced by a low murmur of disbelief and anger. In the staff room, a cluster of employees huddle, their eyes darting nervously. Bryce leans against the espresso machine, trying to mask the growing panic with a forced calm. A barista whispers, "He's done," the words hanging in the air like smoke. The manager's shadow looms in the doorway, his entrance met with a hush heavier than the morning fog. The weight of exposure presses down, shifting loyalties and breaking old alliances. Vivian Leclerc's entrance is a quiet storm. Her heels click sharply against the tile, each step a countdown to reckoning. Staff freeze mid-task, the air thick with anticipation. She doesn't raise her voice. Her silence is a hammer that falls with undeniable force. Bryce's Adams. Apple bobs nervously as she passes, the camera lingering on her gloved hand brushing a dusty Employee of the Month plaque bearing his name. The projector hums to life, casting security footage across the room. Bryce's eyes roll at black patrons, the looped timestamp a relentless reminder of the truth. Vivian's knuckles whiten, but her face remains composed. A server nearby sniffs, mascara streaked, guilt leaking through the cracks. Bryce's defense falters, voice cracking as he insists, "I treat everyone the same." Vivian's tilt of the head says it all. That's the problem. The staff exchange glances, a silent pact forming. Carlos shifts, decades of swallowed rage simmering beneath his calm exterior. Bryce's cologne suddenly smells cheap, his facade crumbling. The billfold opens, revealing a $1,000 tip and a note. Kindness is a choice, so is dignity. The room holds its breath. A server covers her mouth, eyes wide. The receipt flutters to the table, edges trembling like Bryce's resolve. Vivian announces a scholarship fund for Black hospitality students, her voice steady, but filled with the weight of buried pain. Carlos wipes a tear, imagining his granddaughter's future. Bryce stares at the carpet, patterns alien and unforgiving. The camera pans to Sienna's empty chair, her presence lingering like a quiet promise. Hands rise in unison during the vote to suspend Bryce and discipline the manager. The clock ticks, each second a funeral bell for the old order. Outside, reporters' cameras flash, hungry for the downfall. The Caldwells leave the lobby with heads held high, Eli's shoulders squared. Bryce watches from a cracked staff room door, his shadow small against the marble. The family's car fades into the city's glow, a symbol of change and motion. Bryce's locker hangs open, a wrinkled photo of his father inside. He grabs his keys, leaving the apron crumpled on the floor. The door clicks shut, the camera lingering on the fading name as new hires laugh down the hall. The story closes on a city waking to justice, the echoes of a quiet revolution spreading far beyond the restaurant's walls. The staff room is thick with quiet tension. Employees cluster in small groups, their eyes flickering with unease and whispered doubts. Bryce leans against the espresso machine, his posture rigid but his smile forced, a fragile mask barely holding. A barista, her hands trembling slightly, mutters under her breath. "He's done," the words hanging in the air like smoke. The manager, Graham, steps into the room, his presence casting a long shadow. The chatter dies instantly, replaced by a heavy stillness that presses down on everyone. He clears his throat, but no one meets his gaze. The weight of the article's fallout settles like dust, coating the walls and seeping into the floorboards. Young server shifts nervously, glancing at Bryce, then away. Another bites her lip, eyes darting to the exit. The loyalty that once bound the team fractures, splintering into whispered alliances and silent refusals. The air hums with unspoken questions. Who will stand? Who will fall? Bryce's smile falters, his eyes darting to the floor. He runs a hand through his hair, the first crack in his facade. The barista's words echo in his mind, a quiet verdict he cannot escape. Around him, the staff's whispered loyalties shift like shadows, the balance of power tipping. The espresso machine hisses, a sharp, mechanical sound that punctuates the heavy pause. Bryce's breath catches, his confidence unraveling in the face of a silent storm. The room holds its breath, waiting for the inevitable collapse. The sharp click of heels echoes through the quiet restaurant as Vivian Leclerc enters, her presence commanding immediate attention. Staff freeze mid-motion, eyes wide, breaths held. Her pearl necklace catches the light, a subtle symbol of grace and authority. She moves with purpose, each step a countdown to reckoning. Bryce shifts uneasily, his confident facade faltering as Vivian's gaze sweeps the room. The air thickens, tension folding over the staff like a heavy curtain. No words are spoken, but the silence speaks volumes. Vivian's gloved hand brushes a dusty plaque labeled Employee of the Month, bearing Bryce's name, the gesture a quiet indictment. She stops before the manager's desk, her eyes steady and unyielding. The room feels smaller, the weight of years of unspoken truths pressing down. Bryce swallows hard, his Adam's apple bobbing as he tries to maintain composure. The staff exchange glances, a silent pact forming in the charged atmosphere. Vivian's voice cuts through the stillness, calm but firm. We're here to change the story, starting now. The camera lingers on Bryce's face, the cracks in his confidence widening. His hands tremble slightly as he adjusts his tie, the first signs of unraveling. A server nearby wipes a tear from her cheek, mascara streaked but eyes resolute. The room holds its breath, waiting for the next move in this quiet storm. The projector hums to life, casting flickering images onto the wall. Vivian stands at the front, arms crossed, her face unreadable. The staff gathers, uneasy, shifting from foot to foot. The screen shows Bryce at work. His lips curl, eyes darting as he turns away from black patrons, a fleeting gesture but unmistakable. Each clip reveals a pattern. Drinks set down with a careless thud. A menu dropped just out of reach. A smile reserved for someone else. The timestamp blinks. December 5th, 7:15 p.m. Vivian's gaze never leaves the screen. Bryce tries to look away, but the images pull him back, pinning him in place. A server in the back covers her mouth, mascara smudged, her shoulders shaking with guilt. Carlos watches, jaw tight, arms folded, the years of watching this play out etched in the lines around his eyes. No one speaks. The only sound is the whir of the projector and the quiet gasp of a busboy as another clip plays. Bryce rolling his eyes, then turning his back. Vivian finally breaks the silence, her voice low but clear. This is what the world sees when we think no one's watching. Bryce's hands clench at his sides, knuckles white. The manager shifts uncomfortably, sweat beading on his brow. The staff exchange glances, the truth now undeniable, the old routine exposed for all to see. Vivian lets the footage run a moment longer, then switches off the projector. The room is left in heavy stillness, the images lingering in everyone's mind. Bryce looks down, his confidence drained. Vivian's eyes move across the staff, searching for resolve, for change. The reckoning has begun, and this time no one can look away. Bryce's voice cracks, the rehearsed calm slipping away. I treat everyone the same, he insists, but the room feels the weight behind the words, heavy and hollow. Vivian tilts her head, eyes narrowing slightly, the silence stretching between them like a taut wire. The staff exchange glances, a quiet understanding passing through the room. Carlos shifts his weight, decades of swallowed frustration simmering beneath his composed exterior. Bryce's confident posture falters, his hands trembling as he tries to find footing in the shifting ground. That's the problem, Vivian says softly, her voice steady but firm. You never look close enough. Bryce swallows hard, his Adam's apple bobbing as he struggles to meet anyone's gaze. The manager shifts uneasily, clearing his throat, but saying nothing. the facade of control cracking. A server nearby bites her lip, eyes darting between Bryce and Vivian. The tension is palpable, a quiet storm brewing in the room. Bryce's cologne, once sharp and commanding, now seems cloying and out of place. He fidgets with the edge of his apron, the fabric wrinkling under his fingers. The staff's whispered. Loyalties begin to shift, some stepping back, others leaning in, the balance of power tilting. Vivian's gaze remains unyielding, a silent challenge that speaks louder than any accusation. The room holds its breath, waiting for the next move in this unfolding reckoning. The quiet is broken only by the soft rustle of papers and the distant hum of the city beyond the restaurant's walls. Bryce's defense, once a shield, now feels like a fragile mask slipping away, revealing the truth beneath. Vivian's words hang in the air, the final echo of Bryce's failed defense. He tries to steady himself, but his hands won't stop shaking. The staff watch, some with arms crossed, others with fingers twisting nervously at their aprons. Carlos stands near the back, eyes fixed on the floor, jaw set hard. Bryce looks to the manager for support. But Graham just stares at the wall, unwilling to meet his gaze. Vivian steps closer, her heels muted against the carpet. "You had a choice," she says, voice low but unwavering. "Every day you chose wrong." Bryce opens his mouth, but nothing comes out. The room feels smaller, the walls pressing inward. A server shifts her weight, clearing her throat, but the words die before they reach her lips. The tension is broken by the sound of a billfold snapping shut. Vivian turns, holding it up for all to see. "This is what dignity looks like," she says, unfolding the receipt. The tip $1,000 draws a collective gasp. Sienna's note, "Kindness is a choice, so is dignity," is read aloud, her handwriting neat and unflinching. Bryce's face drains of color. He stares at the billfold, unable to process the meaning behind the gesture. The staff exchange glances, some nodding in quiet agreement, others looking away, ashamed. The manager finally speaks, voice barely above a whisper. "We all saw it. We just let it happen." Vivian closes the billfold, her eyes sweeping the room. "We won't let it happen again." She places the billfold on the counter, a symbol of the new order. The staff stand a little straighter, the old routine broken. Bryce lowers his head. The last of his defense is gone. The reckoning is no longer coming. It's here. Vivian opens the billfold in front of the staff, her movements deliberate. The room falls into a hush, every eye fixed on the slip of paper she unfolds. She reads the figure aloud, her voice even. $1,000. A ripple moves through the room. Someone gasps. A server covers her mouth, eyes wide. Sienna's note is next, Vivian holding it up so all can see. "Kindness is a choice. So is dignity." The words land with a force that no accusation ever could. Bryce's face drains of color. He stares at the tip, jaw slack, hands pressed to his sides, as if bracing for a blow. The manager shifts, his confidence gone, eyes darting from the billfold to the staff. Vivian lays the receipt on the counter, the paper trembling slightly, the tip line bold and undeniable. Carlos wipes his hands on his slacks, emotion flickering across his face, a mix of vindication and sorrow. A young server steps forward, voice trembling. "No one's ever left that for us." Her words are soft, but they echo in the stillness. Vivian nods, meeting her gaze. "That's why it matters." Bryce tries to speak, but the words catch in his throat. He glances at the staff, searching for support, but finds only averted eyes and folded arms. The weight of the gesture settles on his shoulders, heavier than any reprimand. The staff exchange. Glances, the old order slipping away, replaced by something new, something earned. Vivian closes the billfold with a quiet snap, the sound final. She looks at Bryce, her expression resolute. "This is the standard now." The staff stand taller, the moment stretching, a silent scream of change reverberating through the room. Bryce lowers his head, the lesson learned in the space of a single tip. Vivian stands before the gathered staff, her voice steady but weighted with the history that fills the room. "Today, we begin a new chapter," she says, her gaze sweeping, across faces marked by fatigue and hope. "A scholarship fund for Black hospitality students to honor those who were overlooked, dismissed, and denied." Carlos stands near the back, wiping a tear from his cheek as he imagines his granddaughter's name on a diploma that once felt out of reach. The room holds its breath, the air thick with remembrance, and the fragile promise of something better. Bryce sits apart, isolated in the corner, the swirling patterns of the carpet reflecting his confusion and regret. He stares at the floor, the moment pressing down on him, his confidence visibly eroding. The camera lingers on his face, the cracks deepening with every word. Around him, staff exchange glances, some nodding in quiet approval, others still uncertain, but willing to believe that change is possible. Vivian continues, "This fund is not just about money, it's a promise that the mistakes of the past will not define our future, that every student, every dream, deserves a chance." Her words settle over the staff, a gentle but unyielding call for justice. A young server steps forward, her voice trembling but clear. "Thank you, ma'am. This means more than words can say." The sincerity in her tone resonates, a ripple of hope moving through the group. The camera pans to Sienna's empty chair, now a symbol of resilience and transformation. Outside, the city moves on, unaware of the quiet revolution taking place within these walls. Vivian lifts her gaze to the ceiling, a silent vow to continue the fight for justice. The staff stand a little taller, the weight of buried pain shifting into a beacon of hope. The boardroom is heavy with anticipation, the air charged as the chairwoman lifts her hand for silence. "We will proceed to a vote," she announces, her voice even but carrying the weight of the moment. Around the table, members exchange glances, some anxious, some determined, all aware that this decision will echo far beyond these walls. The motion is read aloud, the words crisp and final. "All in favor?" For a heartbeat, no one moves. Then, one hand rises, hesitant, trembling. Another follows, then another, until nearly every hand is lifted, a slow wave of resolve breaking. Through years of reluctance, the sound of sleeves brushing against the tablecloth, the subtle clink of a bracelet, the quiet exhale of a director who's been waiting for this day. Each detail marks the gravity of the vote. Stephen sits at the far end, his badge dull against his jacket, fingers clenched around a stack of papers. As the chorus of "I" builds, his shoulders sag, the authority he once wielded slipping away with every raised hand. The chairwoman's eyes meet his, not with malice, but with the certainty of justice. "The motion passes," she declares, her tone gentle but unyielding. A hush settles. The board members lower their hands, some with relief, others with the solemnity of a final farewell to the old order. Stephen stands gathering his belongings, the rustle of paper loud in the stillness. He hesitates, glancing at the badge one last time before setting it on the table. A quiet surrender. No words are spoken as he leaves, only the soft thud of the door closing behind him. Outside, the faint sound of applause drifts in from the lobby, a signal that the world is already moving forward. Inside, the boardroom feels transformed, the vote not just a decision, but a promise. Things will not go back to the way they were. The lobby hums with anticipation as the Caldwells prepare to step out. Reporters cluster near the entrance, cameras poised, their flashes reflecting off polished marble and glass. Sienna stands tall, her hand resting lightly on Eli's shoulder. Malik adjusts his tie, his gaze steady, a silent message of unity and pride. The doors swing open and the family moves forward, every step measured, every glance purposeful. The crowd parts, making way, a hush falling as the family passes. Microphones extend, questions hang in the air, but Sienna only offers a gentle nod, her smile unwavering. Eli walks a little taller, his eyes meeting those of the onlookers without flinching. Malik's arm brushes Sienna's, a subtle gesture of support. The family's presence commands respect, their dignity unspoken but unmistakable. Behind them, staff members watch from the shadows, some with quiet admiration, others with regret. Bryce stands just beyond the threshold of the staff room, his face pale, his posture collapsed, the reality of his downfall settling in. He watches the family cross the lobby, his own world shrinking as theirs expands. The cameras capture every detail, the set of Sienna's jaw, the confidence in Eli's stride, the calm assurance in Malik's eyes. The lobby, once a place of exclusion, now bears witness to a new narrative. As the Caldwells reach the exit, the city's lights spill in, blending with the flash of cameras. The car door opens. Sienna pauses, glancing back one last time, her gaze sweeping the room. It's a farewell and a warning, a promise that dignity will not be denied again. The door closes softly behind them, the sound clear and final. The lobby remains still for a moment, the silence heavier than any applause. Change has arrived, not with noise, but with the quiet certainty of those who refuse to be diminished. Bryce stands alone in the staff locker room, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. He opens his locker, the metal door creaking, and stares at the contents. A wrinkled apron with his name stitched in fading thread, a battered water bottle, a photo of his father taped to the inside wall. He runs his thumb over the picture, remembering the lessons, the warnings, the laughter that now sound hollow. The voices from the lobby filter in, distant but unmistakable. Applause, a newscaster's voice, the echo of a door closing. He pulls the apron from its hook, fingers tracing the seams, then lets it fall to the bench. It lands in a heap, the embroidered name barely visible. Bryce hesitates, keys jangling in his pocket, then grabs them and shuts the locker with a dull clang. He looks around, noticing for the first time how empty the room feels. Other lockers closed, the usual chatter gone. A new hire walks in, glances at Bryce, then quickly looks away, sensing the shift. Bryce lingers, unsure, his world suddenly smaller. He picks up the apron, starts to fold it, then stops, dropping it back onto the bench. The fabric is soft, worn from years of routine, but it offers no comfort now. He steps back, takes a breath, and leaves the apron behind. The door swings shut behind him, the sound echoing down the empty hallway. As he walks away, the camera lingers on the abandoned apron, the name Bryce nearly erased by time and regret. In the distance, laughter and voices signal a new beginning for the staff outside. The locker room stays quiet, the only witness to a future closing and a chapter that will not be reopened. Bryce sits alone in a bustling cafe, the hum of conversation swirling around him like a distant storm. His eyes are fixed on the screen of his phone, the glow illuminating a face marked by regret and isolation. Around him, former co-workers laugh and chat, their voices blending into a melody he no longer belongs to. A barista passes by, offering a polite nod that goes unnoticed. His phone buzzes with a news alert. Sienna Caldwell spearheads dignity campaign. He swipes it away, the words sinking like stones in his chest. The cafe's laughter feels miles away, a world he can no longer reach. He stares out the window, watching people pass by, their lives moving forward while he remains stuck in the shadows of his own making. The chair across from him is empty, a silent reminder of the connections he's lost. He reaches for his coffee, the cold brew untouched, its bitterness mirroring the taste of his solitude. His fingers tremble slightly as he scrolls through headlines praising change and justice, each one a quiet condemnation. A young woman at a nearby table glances his way, her eyes filled with a mixture of pity and resolve. Bryce looks away, swallowing hard, the weight of his actions pressing down like a heavy fog. The cafe's door opens, a gust of fresh air sweeping through, carrying with it the promise of a world that no longer has room for him. He exhales slowly, the sound barely audible over the clatter of cups and the murmur of conversations. The cold brew sits forgotten, a symbol of a past that refuses to fade. Outside, the city pulses with life, indifferent to the man left behind. Carlos unpacks a small box at the back office, his fingers tracing the edges of a new desk plaque engraved with his name. Head of Facilities. The weight of the title settles on him heavier than any mop or broom he's ever carried. He pauses, eyes moist, as memories of years spent cleaning unnoticed flood his mind. The old mop leans forgotten in the corner, its bristles worn and frayed. Downstairs, the restaurant buzzes with renewed energy. Vivian's note lies atop the plaque. Your eyes saw what others ignored. Carlos reads it again, a quiet affirmation of his worth and the change unfolding around him. He places the plaque carefully on his desk, the polished wood reflecting a future he once thought impossible. A young server passes by, offering a warm smile and a nod of respect. Carlos returns the gesture, a small but significant exchange that speaks volumes. The kitchen staff, once indifferent, now glance his way with newfound acknowledgement. The air feels lighter, charged with the promise of progress. Outside the window, the city moves on, unaware of the quiet revolution taking place within these walls. Carlos leans back in his chair, a soft sigh escaping him. The journey from overlooked janitor to respected leader is not just his own, it's a symbol of hope for those still waiting in the shadows. The camera lingers on the plaque, the engraving sharp and clear, a testament to resilience and recognition. Carlos's hands rest on the desk, steady and sure, ready to face whatever comes next with dignity and pride. Leela stands at the host's stand, her smile softer now, more genuine. The tension that once gripped her shoulders has eased, replaced by a quiet resolve. She watches as a black family enters, their faces bright with cautious hope. This time, she leads them to a window table bathed in warm sunlight, the linen crisp and inviting. Her footsteps are steady, no longer hesitant. The manager, Graham, nods from across the room, his expression unreadable but less severe. The air feels lighter, the usual undercurrent of exclusion replaced by a tentative welcome. Leela sets down menus with care, her fingers brushing the edges gently. She meets the eyes of the family's youngest, a little girl whose smile mirrors her own. There's a moment, a silent exchange of understanding and promise. A server passes by, offering a warm nod to Lila, a small but meaningful gesture of solidarity. The kitchen hums with renewed energy, the clatter of dishes less sharp, more harmonious. Outside, the city's noise filters in, a reminder that change is not confined to these walls. Lila takes a deep breath, her smile unwavering as she returns to the host's stand, ready to greet the next guest with the same kindness. Sometimes the smallest gestures carry the heaviest weight. A smile that doesn't waver can be the first step toward a new beginning. The camera lingers on the window table, sunlight catching the gold foil of the menu, now a symbol of inclusion rather than exclusion. The family settles in, laughter bubbling, softly, a quiet celebration of belonging. The auditorium is filled with soft murmurs and the gentle rustle of programs as Jasmine steps onto the stage, the spotlight warm against her skin. Her dress shimmers under the lights, a subtle testament to the journey that brought her here. She clutches the award tightly, the weight of recognition settling in her hands. The presenter's voice echoes through the hall, announcing her as the winner of the Best Investigative Piece. Applause swells, a wave of sound that carries the stories of those who went unheard. Jasmine's eyes search the crowd, landing on Carlos in the back row, his eyes glistening with tears of pride and relief. She begins her speech, voice steady but filled with emotion. "This award is not just mine," she says, pausing as the room leans in. "It belongs to the silent storytellers, the brave souls who shared their truths when no one else would listen." The camera pans to the audience, capturing faces marked by struggle and hope. Jasmine's words hang in the air, a bridge between pain and progress. She thanks her sources, her family, and the community that stood behind her, each name a thread in the tapestry of change. Backstage, A young journalist watches, inspired, her notebook open and ready. The energy in the room shifts, a quiet promise that the fight for justice continues. As Jasmine steps down, the applause follows her like a steady heartbeat. The award is more than a trophy. It's a beacon, a call to action, and a reminder that every story matters. The camera lingers on the plaque engraved with Jasmine's name before fading to black. Sienna walks through the bustling farmers' market, the vibrant colors of fresh produce and the hum of life around her a stark contrast to the quiet battles she's fought. She pauses at a stall, the scent of ripe apples filling the air. A vendor smiles warmly, unaware of the woman's quiet fame, and thanks her for her support. Sienna nods, her eyes reflecting a mix of exhaustion and hope. She thinks to herself, "Change whispers, but it never stops." The words echo softly in her mind, a mantra that has carried her through the darkest moments. Her hand reaches out, steady and sure, to pick up a perfectly ripe apple, its skin unblemished and glowing in the sunlight. The simple act feels symbolic, a small victory, a promise of healing. Around her, families laugh and children play, the market alive with possibility. Sienna's gaze drifts to a mother gently guiding her child, a scene that stirs a deep sense of connection and purpose. The weight of the past lingers, but it no longer defines her steps. She breathes in the fresh air, the sounds and smells grounding her in the present. The market is a place of renewal, a reminder that life continues, and so must the fight for dignity and justice. Sienna's quiet strength shines in this moment, a beacon for those still waiting for their own whispers to be heard. The camera lingers on the apple in her hand, the light catching its surface, before slowly pulling back to reveal the vibrant market scene, a world moving forward, one small step at a time. The sun dips lower, casting long shadows that stretch across the stalls. Sienna pauses, her fingers brushing the rough bark of a nearby tree, grounding her in the moment. A child's laughter rings out, clear and bright, weaving through the air, like a thread of hope. She exhales slowly, the weight of the journey settling into a quiet resolve. Around her, the market continues its rhythm, a living testament to resilience and renewal. Sienna's eyes close briefly, a silent prayer for those still fighting, a promise. The lobby is hushed, every eye drawn to the velvet curtain draped over the new plaque. Vivian stands at the center, her hand steady as she draws the fabric away. The polished stone gleams, gold letters catching the light. For every no we failed to hear. Phones rise, flashes punctuating the silence as staff and guests capture the moment. Lila steps forward, her fingers gently tracing the engraving, chipped nail polish catching on each letter. She remembers every awkward welcome, every apology she couldn't voice. And now, her touch lingers, a silent promise to do better. Vivian's voice carries through the space, calm but resonant. This isn't just a plaque, it's a vow. Every guest who was made to feel less than, every story we tried to bury. Today, we honor them. The crowd listens, breaths held, the weight of the past settling on their shoulders. Sienna stands nearby, her gaze fixed on the inscription, Malik and Ely at her side. The marble floor, once a symbol of exclusion, now reflects hope in the faces gathered around. A young black family is seated by the window, their laughter bright and unguarded, a living testament to change. Lila exchanges a glance with Sienna, wordless understanding. A shared relief. Vivian continues, "We can't rewrite history, but we can choose what we build from it." The staff nod, some wiping away tears, others standing a little taller. The camera lingers on the plaque, the gold letters glowing as the lobby fills with quiet conversation. Outside, the city moves on, unaware of the revolution unfolding within these walls. The plaque stands as both apology and promise, a beacon for every guest who was ever told no. The scene closes on the inscription, the light shifting, shadows, stretching toward a future shaped by dignity. A black family settles into the sunlit window seat, the table set with crisp linen and polished silverware. The youngest daughter giggles, her laughter ringing out, unrestrained and bright. She draws with a crayon on her menu, sketching a smiling stick figure family beneath the bold VIP stamp. Her parents exchange a glance, their eyes shining, with a mix of relief and gratitude. The mother leans in, whispering something that makes the girl beam even wider. Lila watches from the host stand, her smile genuine, no trace of old nerves or hesitation. She nods at the server, who approaches the table with an easy confidence, offering dessert menus and a warm welcome. The kitchen staff peek through the pass, grinning at the scene, a quiet celebration that needs no words. Nearby, Vivian stands with Sienna, both women taking in the sight. Sienna's hand rests on Malik's, a gentle squeeze passing between them. The lobby's earlier tension has melted into a gentle hum, the air lighter, filled with possibility. The plaque on the wall catches the sunlight, its gold letters glowing, a silent witness to the moment. The little girl's laughter weaves through the room, drawing smiles from nearby diners. She waves at Lila, who waves back, her heart swelling with pride. For the first time, the window seat feels like it belongs to everyone. The camera lingers on the family, the girls drawing, the sunlight dancing across the table. The joy is unedited, pure promise that the future can be different. As dessert arrives, the girl claps her hands, her happiness contagious. The staff share glances, each one quietly acknowledging the shift. The room, once a place of quiet wounds, now holds the sound of hope. The scene fades on the family's laughter, sunlight spilling across their table, the promise of belonging finally realized. The lost and found bin sits quietly in the corner of the staff room, filled with forgotten uniforms and stray name tags. Bryce's old apron rests on top, the letters of his name barely visible, thread worn thin by years of routine. A new hire, searching for a spare, picks it up, turning it over in his hands. He frowns at the faded embroidery, shrugs and tosses it aside without a second thought. The apron lands on a pile of discarded clothes, its story ending without ceremony. Outside, the restaurant hums with new life. Lila greets guests with a warmth that feels real, the gold plaque on the wall shining in the afternoon sun. Staff move, with purpose, laughter echoing down the hallway, a sound that once seemed impossible here. The old order has shifted, exclusion replaced by belonging, fear by hope. The camera lingers on the abandoned apron, the name Bryce almost erased by time and change. The new hire slips into a crisp, clean uniform, his steps light as he joins the team on the floor. The staff room, once heavy with secrets and regret, now feels open, the air fresh with possibility. As the scene closes, the camera tilts up to the plaque, its inscription glowing. For every no we failed to hear. The screen slowly fades to black, leaving behind the quiet certainty that the past can be left behind, and a new chapter, brighter and fairer, has finally begun.